Hello, everybody. Scott Golden with the Golden Opportunities Coaching YouTube channel. And hopefully, you are having a good start to your new year. And if there's anything we can do to help you have a better 2021 than 2020, and I think a lot of people want 2021 to be better, most people do, I imagine, then certainly feel free to reach out here on YouTube or at PO Perception on Twitter, and we can set up a session to help you get where you want to be and reach your professional, personal, or relational goals. Today is an audio that's going to be, I think, kind of apply to everyone, and that is when a relationship, friendship, or romantic relationship is over, the signs that it's over. And there's about five different things that, or actually six different things, that I think I would break down and say if you're seeing one or more of these, it may be time to reevaluate the value and placement of a relationship in your life. First is no trust. When trust is violated, there has to be a concerted effort for two things. One, the willingness to truly forgive. And forgive means let go of. It doesn't necessarily mean forget, but it does mean let go of the impact of something and a behavioral change in the other person. When trust is permanently gone, or when trust has been violated to the point where one party believes it to be gone, many times we kind of deceive ourselves into believing that we've forgiven when we haven't, or that we may learn to trust again when we won't. And so, if you honestly can't imagine trusting the person completely again, it's a sign that the relationship needs to end. Now, there is the old saying, that trust takes, a long time to build and only seconds to kill. And there's so much truth to that, in that a violation of trust, a betrayal of any kind, can literally happen in an instant. And the rebuilding of that trust boundary when working with, a professional, or when working with just in general within oneself, can take months or even years. The other real simple factor is, how much do you like the person you're involved with in a friendship, relationship, or other sort of connection? When you don't like someone, there's really not much point to being in a relationship with them. And I think one of the things that we do in our society that is super toxic and unhealthy is, oh, I'm related to you, therefore we have to be friends. Oh, we've been friends for 10 years, therefore we have to stick it out. Oh, we've been married for 20 years and we haven't allowed for people to change and grow, and therefore we have to stay and be miserable. Now, I'm all for working on relationships, because relationships do take maintenance and they do take growth. I wouldn't say they take work, because if it's taking work, to some degree you're doing it wrong. There has to be a certain level of flow where both people are equally invested and kind of willing to meet in the middle and compromise. And if one person's actually feeling like they're working at it, like you'd work at building a house, then chances are you might be doing it in a way that's not productive, or where one person's going to develop some level of resentment at some point. But if you don't like the person you're in a relationship platonically or romantically with, then question becomes, what are you doing there? At the end of the day, liking someone and having an affinity for them is a foundational component to a healthy, growing, progressive relationship. And without a certain level of affinity, the relationship will eventually fade away and even die. And the other thing is no respect. So no respect and no trust has to go hand in hand. Respect is the belief that a person deserves and it has a right to their own autonomy. It's also the value of their opinion, their thoughts, their feelings, their actions, their freedoms, and everything associated therein. If you don't respect a person's opinions or right to freedom or right to experience their life and their ability to express themselves in conversations and in other ways, then ultimately there is a lot that can go wrong in that relationship. Without the respect, there is no foundation for a future, because sooner or later, resentment will grow where respect used to be, and one or both of you will be like, all right, I'm out of here. This isn't working. The other thing, too, is selfishness. Now, in a working relationship, platonic and romantic, there is a certain level of selflessness. That is, I am doing for you because I care for you, I love you, I have an affinity for you, I respect you, I value you, and therefore I do without expectation of return. And then that's flipped around. They do for you without expectation of return, you do for them without expectation of return. When that goes away and a person begins to have expectations. Now, expectations of treatment and expectations of result are two different things. In other words, one should be able to expect not to be abused in a relationship, but at the same time, one does not necessarily have the right to expect agreement or harmony at all times. So when a person is only interested in their own self-motivated nature to a relationship, that relationship will eventually fade away, because selfishness in a relationship means eventually the other person, the other party, will feel neglected, they'll feel undervalued, underappreciated, and eventually disconnected from the emotional connection on which the relationship was built. And this is unhealthy, and it's not sustainable in the long term. Unfortunately, many people give in to selfish behavior, falsely believing that a person will change, but without a desire to change, very few people actually do so. The other thing is the evolution of individuals. So this is a really difficult one, because what we want when we're 10 years old, a video game or a bicycle, what we want when we're 20 years old, a partner, what we want when we're 40 years old, a plan for retirement, what we want when we're 60 years old, a nice warm climate and maybe some nice fruity drinks, evolve. And so evolution is necessary in relationships too. And if you start to find your partner, your friend, your colleague, or a person that is of value to you wanting completely different things, and you're not willing to grow with them or find common ground all over again as if you're beginning to get to know each other in this phase of life for the first time, then the relationship will eventually fade. Not because either person is a bad person, but because you grew to desire and want and focus upon different things. And otherwise, if you're trying to make a person want what you want, there will be resentment, and eventually the relationship will dissipate. So equal levels of investment is the last thing I want to talk about. Relationships are investment. There are investments of time, there are investments of energy, there are investments of love, care, consideration, communication, focus, and all sorts of other things. And when a relationship becomes one-sided, when it becomes focused on one way of being, then it's already over. In other words, if one person's putting in all the effort, and I've been in those connections before, unfortunately, I think we all have at some level, sooner or later you're going to realize you're burning yourself out and not getting any real progress. And so when the burnout happens and the realization of the burnout happens, a person will eventually pull away. Now, that may take months or even years, but when a person realizes that their investment is one-sided and they're not getting a return, a resentment will develop, pain will ensue, and then the desire for the end of the relationship will soon follow thereafter. So hopefully this has been helpful. If you're experiencing one or more of these issues and you'd like to work through them, please feel free to reach out on Twitter at PO Perception, or on my website that's in the I guess it's the About Me section now these days on YouTube here. And until next time, keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Until next time, everybody.